Hey there, YouTube. This is Broman Clash right here, and I'm going to give you my views on video game companies, compare them to then and to now. What I noticed about video game companies then was the fact that the video game companies actually had a bit more fun when they created video games, such as they were experimenting, they were making sure what formulas go right and what formulas go wrong, and see basically have like an experiment or just see what works and what doesn't work. Then with that came a mashup of brilliant games and horrible games. Then looking at games back then, they actually had a bit of a creative side, and it seemed as if the gaming companies actually listened to what the gamers were saying, especially with Mortal Kombat, when they were listening to criticism and they were listening to how the way the parents were complaining about, oh yeah, this game is too bloody. And then with Mortal Kombat 3, if I'm correct, it had friendships where it was actually poking fun or just like saying like, hey, we listen to you. And then especially with Ermac, originally he wasn't supposed to be a character. They thought like, oh yeah, he was a red skin. He was like a red skin palette of one of the well-known ninja warriors, such as Scorpion, Sub Zero, Rain, and who else? Carmillion. Then with that, they actually heard like, oh yeah, you know what? Let me just do some. Oh yeah, we're gonna check this out. And then how does that tie in with video game companies then? Then the video game companies actually had fun developing their video games to the point they added like little subtle references. They added, little tidbits here and there, especially with Insomniac and Naughty Dog. I didn't know this, but when Insomniac and Naughty Dog were working close together, with Sony, they actually referenced each other, especially in the demo. With Spyro the Dragon, they actually had like a playable version of Spyro 2, if I'm of Crash 2. Sorry about that. And then with Crash 2, it was just like, wait a minute. So what's up with like, gamers back then? We were like, wait a minute. So what's up? Like, is there a connection here and there? And especially back then, with Sega, and especially with the Sega Dreamcast, and with internet connection and all that stuff was starting to pop up. And then the funny part about the internet connection back then was the fact that it was not really used much as it is now, because now it's practically used in everyday life. But video game companies then actually had fun, and they actually did something that was just like, wait a minute, you know what, man? Let's just experiment. Let's see what can work and what cannot. What doesn't profit us, but what can look cool, or can look, pretty influential, or it can look, or the sounds are great, or the music and the characters go well together. But now it seems as if, video game companies now, it's more like copy and paste. When I see these shooters, sure the weapons may be different, sure, some of the things may be different, but it's just like, wait a minute, man. Back then, you put in some codes, you get alien weapons, you can learn kung fu, and Max Payne, yeah, beating guys up, doing that and all that jive. And then looking at it now, and it's just like, wait a minute, we don't have codes anymore, we don't have cheat codes, we don't have like surprise unlockables. Now everything, from DLCs to how the way, gaming now, it's just like, wait a minute, hold up. You mean to tell me that you want me to pay something that came with the game already, but yeah, you want me to pay for it? When back then, if you wanted to unlock an extra mode, you had to do like a certain criteria, and there were no achievements back then. You felt self-achieved. Then with that came in, it was just like, well, wait a minute, what happened to that then? And then looking at now, it's more money based. I mean, look at Nintendo. Don't get me wrong, Nintendo's a great company, very influential in the gaming market, actually helped push 3D into the market. But when I look at Mario games, some of them just look a bit copy and paste, just with more updated graphics. And some of you may say, like, Nintendo's the greatest company, don't criticize it like that. It doesn't always do that, and that's true. But when I notice things, I'm just like, wait a minute, man. And then looking at Sega, I gotta admit, Sonic games, they were not what they used to be. Like looking at Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Knuckles, Sonic, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes. I was gonna say Sonic Adventure Heroes. My bad, y'all. But looking at that, I'm just like, man, those games were actually pretty cool, and the music was just, really catchy. Like, yeah, and listening to Rouge's, headquarters, yeah. And then listening to Green Forest, I'm very sorry for getting off tangent, but I guess I was just enjoying the music. But on back to the topic of like, video game companies. And then looking at that, I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute. Back then it was innovative, it was fun, we felt that. Now it just feels cookie cut. And Sonic, I consider Sonic like the Wall Street of gaming, because it had its high times, it had its low times, and it's just fluctuating now. And then looking at it now, it's just like, well, wait a minute, damn, Sonic, you really did go down. Before, you were innovative, you were great, you were fast, you were explored, you had very great taste. And then looking at it now, and then I'm looking at Mario, he was a bit the same way too, he explored here and there. But his games were kind of steadily going up a bit, albeit there were some pretty bad games, but some of the games were just like pretty good. And then looking at Legend of Zelda, sure you had the Philips CDI games, but I never played those. Well, thank God I didn't. But then looking at it now, I'm looking at these games, and I'm just like, some of these games that I played, they were really radical, man, and I was just like, good. And then looking at it now, it seems as if Nintendo, it still has fun. That's the thing the video game companies need to understand. I understand you have to have a business sense in order to have some money, but when it came right down to it, innovation along with creativity made video games fun. And then, the whole topic about game theory, how they referenced the fact that Virtual Boy failed because it was innovative for its time, and then, the Wii U is doing the same thing too. But then looking at it now, just have the same characters but change the coding. I mean, that's cool and all that stuff, but you have to remember, gamers, we love to have fun. And companies, they need to have some fun too. When I mean fun, I don't mean like office parties, like guys, like the office people, have ties around their head and having like those kind of bandageries. Not like that, man. But what I mean now is the fact that back then, you put in code, you had like extra scenes, you had it was innovation, and we were just in awe about it. But looking at it now, it's just like really, mostly shooters. A few good games here and there, but it's like mostly shooters are out. And some people don't want shooters, like me. Shooters are not my thing. But following the grain and all that stuff, Nintendo is doing this thing, and it's different, and that's cool. That's why people seem to gravitate towards Nintendo. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. There are other companies are doing their thing. Sega, is doing this thing here and there. Konami's doing this thing here and there, especially with Metal Gear Rising, Rising Revengeance. I love that game, and that's pretty cool. Music. Oh man, the music, it's gotten more radical nowadays, and sometimes that's not necessarily bad. I mean, the video game companies are having fun here and there, with music. Sometimes they may sound operatic. Sometimes they may sound, more metal rock oriented, like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, and I think that's cool. But back then, the old saying goes, simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. That's what it was back then, because our imaginations ran free. Yeah, like my hat. My hat's off, imagination's running free. Hat's on, imagination stays contact. But it comes with that, and it comes now. Sometimes it may come with a price, because people are going to get really, really, really fed up with the same thing, so they want something new. But people want to try to be trend followers instead of trendsetters. But in the end, everybody's different, even video game companies. But with that, hope you have a great morning, YouTube. This is Broman Clash, out one, at one.